You can become extraordinary. I know you'll set the world on fire. Keep chasing your dream.
Hi, and welcome back to Ordinarily Extraordinary Conversations with Women in STEM. So happy to have everyone back here today, and this is a place where we gather to have casual conversations with women, talk about their experience, and so happy to have you here. Today, I am happy to have one of my friends, Manyphay Viengkham. Manyphay and I worked together in the past. She has an MBA, an MS in Systems Engineering, a BS in Computer Science and Biochemistry. Welcome, Manyphay.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I was going through your bio to prep for this, and you have so much education.
I don't have my master's in systems engineering yet. I was actually working on that and my MBA at the same time while I was going through my career at GE, and one of those had to drop. So, so to be continued.
We've never really talked about that, but I am curious though. So computer science and biochemistry, how did those fit together as a major, and why'd you pick that?
Actually, I started off focusing on wanting to be a doctor. So I was planning on going to medical school. So I majored originally in biochemistry, and life happens, and I was like, probably not a good idea to go to medical school yet. I had my son at an early age, and so I decided not to go to medical school while I had him. I didn't want to work in a lab, so I decided to pick up computer science just because I enjoyed programming. I took one class and it was just awesome. So I decided to pick up another major, finish up my biochemistry while I decide when I would go back to medical school.
What do you do for a job now? I like to go in reverse order because I like to talk about current, and then we'll talk about like your history and how you got there. But what do you do now?
What do I do now? So I'll say I focus on primarily advancing technology, especially in the energy industry. I'm focused primarily around new technology development as well as the deployment and adoption of new technology to embrace energy efficiency. Okay. And so I apply all of my systems engineering degree, my product management skills, as well as my design thinking.
You and I kind of started our own companies like near the same time.
Yeah.
How has that journey been for you?
It's been awesome, but there's definitely been ups and downs. So definitely been ups and downs. Just, I think the ups has been always just working on new projects, new initiatives, and especially initiatives, like I said, that focus on energy and utilities. So that part I enjoy. But the part of recruiting getting new projects, marketing. So that's been, I'd say, a new ride.
Yep, with you on that.
Yep. So yeah.
Yeah, someone, when I was talking to people, when I was thinking about going out on my own, someone told me that it's a roller coaster, and it's for sure a roller coaster.
Yeah. But I do enjoy it though. There's a lot of joys to it. So I'd say focusing on projects that I enjoy.
Yeah. Has there been anything that has been surprising to you about being out on your own?
I don't think surprising. Nothing that really surprised me. I think that perhaps maybe a little bit surprised is just the fact that having a strong network and I'd say the reputation that I've had in my past career has really helped carry me through. So it has opened many doors, and having those relationships has been helpful. So it's not a surprise, but I come to realize how important that is, especially when you're branching off on your own.
Yeah, I don't think that I could have been out on my own if I didn't have the network that I had. And it's not like I necessarily built that network for that reason. I have that network for like many reasons, but it's been one of like the most important things that I've done as well.
I would agree too. I do a little consulting too. And the relationships in my past, I never realized how, I mean, I realized how valuable they were. I don't want to discount that, but just really felt the value that I had with those relationships as going forward because, and what they meant to people. So I think working with them in the past and working for the right reasons, like you said, Kathy, not, you're not intentionally doing it, but you're working for the greater good.
Having those relationships, but also I read a book somewhere about your brand, and that really is important. I think having, a good work ethic, someone who, I mean, it's describing how you are as a person, right? Throughout your career, and everything that you do is so important. And you just never know where your influence makes a big difference in opportunities that come up.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you guys, when you were younger, how was networking for you? Like, were you good at networking? Was it something you were intentional about? How did you guys build your network? Because I think like for like folks that are, listening that are younger, how do you do that? Especially, I think a lot of us are introverted in the STEM side. How did you build your network and was it intentional?
I'd say no. I'm growing up. I was very much an introvert, and I've always kept to myself. I'd always play by myself, and so it wasn't until I'd say my college years where uh, just being exposed and forcing to kind of be in front of an audience, um, and having mentors and teachers who have really encouraged and who have always been motivating and giving me confidence has helped me a lot. And I think throughout my career, it's just constantly pushing myself to put myself out there and to kind of lean in and speak my thoughts. So early in my career, uh, just having people who saw my potential and just giving me opportunities and just constantly motivating me. So that helped a lot.
What about you, Linda? Did you do intentional networking?
No, I didn't, Kathy. So if you ask me how I did it, I really don't know. People have told me, gosh, you know everyone. And I think remembering people
Mhm.
and, I'm thinking about these large conferences that I attended and trying to remember people. Part of it was just giving back.
Yeah.
Let me talk about, how to network with people. But I think the giving back is what opened that door to network with people because I was on a committee that I was leading the committee for several years. I think I led that committee for about 9 years. It was a large utility committee. And then I went to work for the company that the committee was around. It was like a users group, but we formed it into a committee.
Hmm.
So then, of course, I had a relationship with that committee and then I led it going forward. And I remember thinking, this isn't part of my job. It's kind of taking away from my job, but it's just such an important mission and it adds the value to our software program if we can get some synergy going with this group. What
Hmm.
I didn't know about that group is what I was creating down the road. I created so many relationships by just being there, helping people understand what they need and trying to get a little bit of synergy with that group. And people remembered that. I found in my consulting career that a couple times people said, you really helped me when I, had a problem that I couldn't get through. And
Yeah.
I didn't realize what that meant to people.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you a lot in the sense that thinking of networking, not so much about, short term, I'd say task, right? But thinking of it as getting to know people, right? And
Hmm.
building a relationship. Having that different view, I think takes a lot of weight off of, oh, I'm
Hmm.
not networking, I'm getting to know people. So if you
Right.
think of it that way, I think it becomes more enjoyable and
Yeah.
and I
Right.
think more, more genuine than coming across like, okay, you feel like you have this task list of things to do when you go in a network environment, and it's like, you forget that, hey, enjoy it, get to know people. And I think there was a turning point. I don't know when it was, but there was some turning point in that.
Well,
Yeah.
interestingly, like that actually kind of ties into actually doing the podcast, right? Like it's about curiosity. It's about trying to get to know people, understand where they're coming from, understanding their needs, their challenges, and can you be a resource to them? Can you help them with something? And I think it's just the curiosity and the conversations that you build. And in some cases, I don't know if you guys have had the same thing, but like when you're in certain areas and networking, and if those networking things involve travel, you spend a lot of time with the same people. You get to know people's families in some cases. And like I have some really, really good friends that are nowhere near where I live that I've met their spouses, I've met their kids. I feel like it's part of a family, that it grows to be part of a family over time, which is never anything that I would have expected as like a younger engineer, that would be like the relationship part would be such a big factor in a career.
Yeah. I think that's how I remember you and we were on some work trip, and we had rented a car, and that was an awesome opportunity for us to just get to know each other. And we shared a lot about just our history, our backgrounds, and opened up about a lot of things. And I got to know you much better, and you got to know me, and we found a lot of similarities. So, and that has, I think when we have a relationship, a friendship, that just means so much more, right? Than just a normal casual work relationship. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think like we had probably talked like once or twice before we were in a car together. It
was a forced conversation.
But it was fun. That was probably one of my favorite things about that job.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to go back to what was your career journey? So you get your degree in computer science and biochemistry.
Yeah.
How do you start and how do you go from there? Because you went through like a few different jobs and some very like large, well-known companies. How did you go from there to where you are now? And just tell me about that journey, and if you have like any favorite things that you've done along the way.
Oh yeah, sure. So I, in a million years, would have never thought that I'd be in the energy industry. For one of my classes in the biochemistry degree, I needed an internship, and I was like, "Where am I going to get an internship?" I was living up in Holland, Michigan, and I had a friend who was working at a power plant, and they're like, "Hey, we have an internship opening for an environmental specialist or something along those lines." I was like, "Okay." So I interviewed for the job, got the internship, and it has opened my eyes in so many ways. Specifically, just the amount of work and effort that goes into generating power so that we can flip a switch and the power's there, right? So I started my career working for the maintenance supervisor at the power plant, and this was a coal plant. I'd like to share this story because back to relationships. The maintenance supervisor that I was reporting to was Garrick Rocha, who now is the CEO of Consumers Energy. So you never know, right? Who the people that you worked for and where they'll be in the future. So that's always a fun fact. But yeah, I started my career working at the utility. This was Holland Board of Public Works up in Michigan. And I was there for 9 years. And curiosity, as you mentioned, was something that have always carried me throughout my career. I started off as an intern, then working as a programmer analyst, to managing all of their IT applications, both on the IT side as well as the OT. So, and I'd say that I had mentors who really saw my potential and gave me opportunities, and I never said no. They asked me to upgrade the SCADA system at the wastewater plant. And oh my goodness, you can imagine as a young professional. And they had this, like, what's so crazy, they had this one alarm screen that has this image of a brick wall. Every time an alarm comes on, the brick wall would start cracking and water start gushing out. And so, and I
Oh my
was so
gosh.
paranoid of doing something wrong. I would have nightmares of me blowing up the plant or something. And so it was so stressful. But it forced me to, like, really, hey, if you want to do this job, you got to do it well, and like I need to know the inside and out of everything. So I mapped every pipeline, every valve, every sensor in at that plant, just so that I had a good understanding of how everything worked before I started working on the SCADA systems. That was one of the big projects there. Another project that I was really proud of was deploying the AMI system for them. And that was the last big project that I had. And that opened doors for me to work at GE. And but before that, I was at the top of where I could grow in that company. And so I decided, well, maybe now's a good time to go back to pursuing my medical degree. And so I said, well, either go to medical school. So I decided to take my MCAT, and I did quite well, got accepted to Wayne State, and then I got pregnant again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. I think the higher beings were telling me, basically, hey, every time I try to pursue medical school, I end up getting pregnant. So I was like, oh, okay. I think I'm good here. No regrets, but I knew that, hey, I wanted to continue to grow. So I decided, well, either I continued down the energy path at a bigger company, or I pursue what was a new industry, which was the whole bioinformatics, which at that time they didn't have a degree in that. And so the combination of my computer science and biochemistry degree was just like the perfect combo of that. And so I was like, well, maybe I start a new career and start applying for at that time it was the Genome Project and a lot of these bioinformatics companies. So, and I was like, all right, I'm going to apply to half of energy companies and then half to biotechnology companies, and let fate decide. And so lo and behold, GE reached out to me first. And so I went down that path, and I'm glad I did. And so GE recruited me as a senior systems engineer, and started working on smart grid initiatives. I spent another 10 years working at GE, doing smart grid stuff, as well as 2 to 3 years of my later career at GE. I was on the power division side, so leading their deployment of their asset performance management technology. So
Manyphay, that smart grid, 10 years at GE, was that just starting then? I mean, just really starting to get into the smart grid at
yeah,
that time?
it
And
was the start of that in the whole AMI initiative. I mean, that's what opened the doors to GE. So
what was that like working on smart grid when it was brand new? What was your favorite contribution to the team about smart grid?
well, I played multiple hats, and one of the hats that I played was the business analyst role. And what I enjoyed about that was helping them see how AMI helps improve their process, right? Especially on the billing side, by allowing customer service support folks to be able to, remotely turn on and off meters, because showing them the benefits of that and how much, time savings that they would improve, and allowing their meter readers to go work on other things rather than reading meters every
Sure.
month.
Hmm.
That's the part that I would say I enjoy the most, is like helping people see the value of some of these
Hmm.
technologies.
Oh, I worked in AMI for a while too, and it was really exciting to share it with the internal group on how they could manage that from their desk or from a computer console.
Yeah.
And I was involved in a lot of AMI projects, so I can relate to that. What's funny is the customers always thought we could do that from day one. So it wasn't as fun sharing it with the customers because they said, well, couldn't you do that anyway?
Yeah.
No, you
No,
actually
no,
needed
no.
a call when you had an outage. We sent meter readers around, or like there's also like the self meter reading. Like that's also something that is like common and like was what I think was
Yes.
common in the rural areas is you would read the
Mhm.
meter yourself and send in your reading. Like
Yeah.
it's amazing how far that has come.
The other part that's really a fun part of that project was really showing on the backside, on their operation side, how, integrating the AMI system with their outage management system,
Mhm.
right? Beyond just the billing side, it helps just in their operations and giving them better visibility into what's happening out in the field, right? So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so after GE, what'd you do after
ah,
GE?
after GE, a company by the name of Microland out in based in India, they've been primarily an IT service company, and they wanted to get into the industrial IoT industry, and so they asked me to help them stand up a new center of excellence and essentially a new business to help them get into the whole industrial IoT. So I did that for about 2 years. And then Honeywell recruited me. And basically, they were on the forefront of developing their own digital organization. Up until then, I've always been in front of the meter, right? Working with utilities, working on deploying applications to utilities. And so it's mostly a lot of front of the meter type of efforts. But this gave me the opportunity to be behind the meter. So with Honeywell, you know, there I was on the product management side and helping develop their new portfolio building management solution. So things like, for example, monitoring access controls, monitoring the efficiency of their HVAC system. They were new technology to kind of give a portfolio visibility and insight into the operations of managing large commercial buildings.
Okay, and then you went from Honeywell to the consulting firm that we worked at together. What made you leave Honeywell and go into consulting?
I wanted to go back into the utility world. So I wanted to jump back on in front of the meter and working with more focus on utilities. And so I got the opportunity to work for West Monroe, and so that was refreshing and gave me an opportunity to again get back into the utility industry, and so I enjoyed that.
And then what made you decide to go out on your own?
I'd say I can do this. I felt like there was so much more skills that I can provide, but there was also a niche that I felt like that I could really give back. And that niche was really combining my skills between um, my product management skills as well as my systems engineering skills and my design thinking skills. And so I still wanted to be working on developing new products, but basically kind of where the convergence between new technology as well as deploying this in the utility industry. So I decided to branch off on my own. I'd say also seeing you jump and starting your own consulting business, like, oh, I think I can do this too.
I think it's interesting and being able to like be your whole self, right? Like that's kind of like when you were talking about like why you started. That's one of the things that I enjoy the most about being on my own is I can do what I want to do and look for projects that I want to do and that bring me joy. The joy of being able to do what you want to do. And Linda, I know like you and I talked about this on our last podcast about being in control of your schedule. I mean, not 100%, right? Like you've
Mhm.
got clients that you're serving and things like that are obviously important, but you are in control of the
Right.
work that you do. You're in control of your schedule and you're answering to your clients as opposed to somebody else who's like in between, right? That's trying to, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think, Manyphay, what made me think of what you said about more skills that you had to offer. I think, your work and your title and your job sometimes becomes your identity. And then you feel like, well, I have, when you go out on your own, you feel like you have more authentic identity because you can share the things that you have skills in that maybe your job didn't require. So you didn't, that was someone else's job. You didn't need to do that. So I talk to a lot of people how they feel like their job is their identity. I mean, a lot of people that maybe lose their job think that was my identity. What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And going out on your own is your own identity, and it's a different switch.
Yeah.
It is for sure a different switch.
It is a different switch, and it allows you to diversify, right? And diversify in different projects. I've always in my career, I've always wear different hats, and I enjoy that, right? And so I enjoy, like, on certain projects, I'll be very much a program management type of role. In other projects, I may be more focused on helping customers adopt new technology. And in other roles, it's all about innovating. And so that, for me, keeping it like exciting, that's what keeps me exciting. It's not like, oh, I'm not always doing the same task, same job every day. All right. And so having that diversification and allowing me to use all different parts of my skills really motivates me and keeps me excited all the time about what I'm doing.
You said you started out wanting to be a doctor. What were your influences when you were growing up, and what made you decide you wanted to be a doctor? And then I also want to tie that into, so you are, your family were refugees. And so did that play a factor into your career decisions? And what was that like for you growing up?
Yeah, so our family, back in the late 70s, my parents escaped the war, and so they left Laos, and we lived in the refugee camps of Thailand for about 3 years before we got the opportunity to come to the U.S. Going back to people and relationships, my dad at that time, he grew up as a monk. He was a monk that was forced to go into war. And then when we came to the United States, he was still a Buddhist at heart. He met a few people who were so helpful and like just cared for our family so much. And these were strangers that he met. When we first landed in the United States, we lived in Washington State, and my dad was somewhere in the city, and a man approached him and said, "Excuse me, and my dad doesn't speak much English, but the man asked if he was Laotian." And keep in mind that this is back in 79. And so the fact that this man actually knew what Laotian was kind of perked his interest. And he said, "Wait here, I have something for you." And so he went to the back, he went to the building and came out with a Lao Bible. And so my dad was quite some surprise of like, "Oh, I know how to read this." And from there, just that, the people at the church have just embraced our family. And they were just so compassionate, even though my dad had not decided to change his view or religion. But the fact that they were so compassionate and really just took us under their arms in helping us in so many ways, changed his views on many things, changed his views on religion, but it also incorporated our family into another type of community that we had never had, right? When we landed in the States. And that community really was what embraced our family. I grew up with those views and values, and that's where I decided, oh, I want to be a missionary, right? And I wanted to share that same compassion. And so that's where that started. And so from a very young age, I was like, okay, I'm going to be a doctor, and then I'm going to be a missionary. That was my goal, right? And And so my dad, he was very much, very, he's my hero. He's who I look up to. And he's always letting us know that, hey, if you want to succeed in this country, you've got to have an education. I do a little blog on LinkedIn, but it's primarily to honor him, but his views that has really helped formed me in many ways in my thoughts.
And you just went, well, I don't want to say just went, but earlier this year, you went back to Thailand and Laos. How was that for you? For the first time, right? Like that was like your first time going back.
Yes, after like almost close to 40 years, over 40 years, I have not been back. And so that was awesome. It was very touching in so many ways. I got the opportunity to meet my uncles and aunts and cousins for the first time, but also seeing country, the people, but also because we lived out in the village, right? And so when we drove out there, just seeing the jungle and just imagining my mom when she was younger, because she was pregnant with me, like she was like 7 months pregnant. And when they were escaping the war, being pregnant at that stage, going through the jungle to find refuge. I mean, I can't imagine. And so I had a lot of respect after seeing that for myself and the stories that she shared with me.
And one of the things, so I went to Laos 2019. And one of the things that I did not know is that it's the most bombed country in the world. And there are still all of these like unexploded IEDs that kids will come along. Like it's, I think they call it like the hidden war. And I had no idea. And so, and I guess we never talked about the fact that your mom was pregnant and when they were trying to escape the war, like I can't even imagine that, like that, the bravery and the, just like, cause when you're pregnant, like you're trying to protect, you're doing everything you can to protect that baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I think in addition to also just getting to see family and getting back to, I'd say, the roots and just seeing where my dad grew up, where my mom grew up, that was very touching.
Okay, so I want to tie this into, you have written a book. Tell me about the book and when is that coming out? What's it called? All that.
Well, you know what? So I've finished it. I've written it, but I've been contemplating whether I should publish it. So, and I decided not to publish it. And there's several reasons, which is why I've decided to do my blog and put it on, a platform that I feel I can reach out to more people. Decide not to publish it. Because really the intent of the book is really to help motivate and encourage people to be more resilient, right? And it's also telling the story of my dad. And so I decided not to publish it, but instead to write short stories instead.
And you said your blog is on LinkedIn?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just started, so I'm only on like article 4 or 5.
Well, I've seen that you've had postings out about that. So I will go back and look at them because I think you have a really like just a really interesting story and things that I can't even, just things I can't even fathom that you have.
I'm intrigued as well. I did catch one of them as we were preparing for this. I just had a chance to read one, and it was the one about your dad teaching you the Lao language.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really moving, and how important that is. The bilingual is just really important for a lot of people that are trying to connect in communities, and being an interpreter must be really cool.
Yeah, I remember that a lot of the stories are about my dad, just because, like I said, he's been such an influence on me in so many ways, right? And but he's just the most compassionate person, you know? And I've learned that, hey, you can still succeed in a career, but still be compassionate and not lose
Mhm.
sight of that. Because there's,
Yeah.
one thing that throughout my career, just meeting people who are just so harsh. And it's like, I don't have to be like that. I don't need to be I don't need to be rude and harsh. You can still be compassionate and kind and still succeed in a corporate world.
That is so true. Is your dad still with us?
No, he passed away in
Oh,
when I was like around seventh grade, seventh,
oh,
eighth grade.
okay.
Or
You
something.
must have known some of that language when you came here as a young girl. And then did you refresh it with your dad?
Uh, so I did. At home, we spoke mostly Laotian, right? But then when and then as you start going to school, you like we had a very small, there's only like my family and a few other families that spoke Laos. And so, but most of my time was speaking English. It wasn't until my father started sponsoring like multiple families, like he sponsored over 30 families from Laos over to the US. And that's when like I started getting more fluent in Laotian. Still had this like American accent, but I was picking that back up, and so he made sure that I learned how to read and write, which I'm really grateful for.
Do you still speak Laotian, or can you? So, like when you went to Laos, did you speak
Oh,
Laotian when you were there?
they were surprised because they thought that I couldn't speak Laos. But yeah, no, I speak very fluent Laos. I speak Laos. I can read Laos. I can write, but it's like my grammatical errors are so bad.
Mm.
I don't think anyone can write anymore. I don't care what language it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's only going to get worse because ChatGPT. There's
Oh,
no study that
right.
we have to do now. We're all going to sound like
Right.
we're all going to sound the same.
Yeah.
Um, Manyphay, what are you most proud of in your career or your life?
Mm. Well, I'd say still being here, right? And what I mean by that is that I've grown, right? I've grown in so many ways. I'm proud of myself in the sense that I have um, grown in my knowledge, in my skills, and just I'd say being able to deal with tough situations. Not that it's any easier. So yeah, I'd say just my accomplishments and just growing, right? And I look back at all of the projects that I've been on and some of these companies that I've worked for, and I'd say that I'm proud of every project that I've worked on, just because I'd say I didn't give up. I didn't give up on a lot of things, but I've basically continued to just wanting to pick up new skills, new experience.
All right. Okay, so we're going to jump into our Ask the Not Expert segment. So, this is for us all to ponder and try to provide advice. We are not experts. We are not trying to be experts. We are not pretending to be experts, but so this is just our opinion. So, first question is from Tara. I'm an engineer at a consulting firm, and sometimes clients assume I'm in an admin role instead of a technical role. How should I handle comments and assumptions without making it awkward? And actually, I'm kind of curious, have either of you ever have people mistaken you as like what your role is when you have gone either to customer sites or client sites? Like, has there been misunderstandings?
Like you're there just as a note taker.
Or sometimes you're the one that's asked to be the note taker because you're the only
Right.
woman. That happens.
Happens
I
all the
don't,
time.
yeah. In some situations, like in that case where, can you take notes? Like, okay, I don't mind taking the notes, especially during early in my career. It's like, all right, I'll take the notes. Either way, I need to take notes. All right, I'll take notes.
And I can read my handwriting.
Yeah, but then it's like, okay, but I can do more than taking notes. And so that's when I'm always just like chiming in on my thoughts. And then that's when people start realizing, oh, she's more than just taking notes, right? And there's a positive way to send across a message by just, for me, it's just sharing what I can contribute. Does that make sense? Rather than just saying, no, I'm not an admin. It's like, okay, I'm not a confrontational person. And so, but I usually show through my example or just kind of contributing my contribution.
Okay, so you would not address it directly.
I typically don't, unless it's really, forceful.
What about you, Linda?
Yeah, something that you said, and it seems to be a theme in some of our other guests, is if you know something, say something. If you know the answer to that, technology people tend to be introverts, and especially in a situation like that where you have maybe a dominance of other people that want you to take the notes and think you're admin, contribute, like you said, contribute your knowledge and what you know, and pretty soon it does change a little bit. And she does know.
Yeah.
She is part of the team. She is a contributor, but don't be afraid to speak up and add to the conversation.
Yeah.
Some people have struggled with that.
Yeah.
I have a little different question that's kind of similar to this. When you all have gone to conferences and I think we've all been on the vendor side now, in addition to the customer side, like the customer being the utility side when you go to conferences. And you're in a booth. Do you ever get mistaken as either like a booth babe, which I think those are starting to go away, or somebody who's not technical when you're in a booth at a conference, which I think is similar to what this question is. I just see it more prevalent on this side, but that's just like my experience, I think. And I'm also going to say I have made that assumption myself. Let me also be clear. I've been in the industry for 32 years. I make the same assumptions that other people, that I hate for people to make about me, right? Like I also have made these assumptions, which makes me feel horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't anymore, but I did.
That's happened to me. But what I enjoy the most is the fact that you can shock them, right? Shocking them with your words. For example, with the note taking, sometimes it's like, okay, I remember early in my career, I would take notes, but then I would also insert, Manyphay's idea, blah, 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 right? So I insert my opinions or thoughts into that. And so that kind of, it brings this shock and awe. It's like, oh, did she write that? I didn't know she would think like that. And so I think that to me is enjoyable in a, maybe, I don't know if that's a good or healthy thing, but I actually like to give this surprise to people, right? And so rather than taking it, looking at it offensively or defensively, use that as an opportunity to surprise them. And I think that to me puts a smile on my face, like.
All right. We're going to go into rapid fire questions. So we'll see how rapid they go. Do you have a favorite STEM book, movie, or TV show?
Big Bang Theory.
Okay. Good show. Okay. If you could start over doing any career and money was not an object, so you don't have to worry about that, what would you do?
Would I go back to medical school?
You might get pregnant. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, maybe I shouldn't wish it on that. I probably have like 10 kids. I would maybe do something that, because I like to build things. And so, like something in carpentry.
Okay. What advice would you give your younger self?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Things will always work out. Growing up, I'd always stressed out a lot about things and scared. And so that's one thing that I would constantly remind myself if I were to go back. Things will always work out.
I think sometimes like my grown-up self needs that too.
I just want to say thank you, Manyphay, for joining us today. It was great to get to meet you and just had a great conversation with you today. It was really fun.
Nice to meet you as well, Linda.
Thank you, Manyphay. Really appreciate you being on. And please stay tuned for our wrap-up. Thanks, everybody. How are you?
Good. I think it sounds like we are both in the same boat, taking care of people that can't take care of themselves for whatever reason, elderly or surgery or some
Who are
other.
you taking care of right now?
My dad, who's been sick, and my sister-in-law, who is in assisted living and need to sell her house because she had a brain injury.
Oh.
And my mom is hanging in there, but she has her health issues too. They both live alone, my mom and dad. So they need a lot of help.
Yeah. Well, so my mother-in-law also lives alone, and so she had heart surgery. And normally my husband's sister is in town, but she was at a conference. And so my husband came yesterday, and then I was on my way, but he doesn't have that much vacation time. And so I was going between Bismarck and Brainerd. And so I came here yesterday after my conference, and then I'll be here.
Sure.
And then my mother-in-law's niece is going to come at like 11, and then I'll buzz home so that we can do our podcast recording with Kristen. And then my sister-in-law will come back like this evening, and then she'll stay here tonight. But my mother-in-law is doing great. I just need to be here. Like she's not supposed to bend, and I don't want her to be here like by herself just in case she needs
didn't have
something
open
or
heart,
something.
did
No, they did an like an artery replacement, but they like went in like through her leg.
Yeah.
So just like small incisions and not open heart, and it went really well. And this morning she said she's feeling great, which is awesome. And so she's doing good. She's actually supposed to go to New York City with my daughters in 2 weeks, and she's supposedly supposed to be able to do that, which I think
oh my gosh, isn't it amazing?
She's 88 and she's still like going like a champ. Like, yeah,
good for her.
She's incredible. But she does live alone, and so just making sure she's not alone like after her surgery, at least for like a period of time in case something happens. Right. So yeah. Anyway, okay, I got to tell you about, so before we talk about Manyphay, I want to just like tell you this like really interesting conversation that I had with, so I was at one of my like utility conferences, and the first night, and we're in Bismarck, and I like gone out for dinner with a couple of guys, like vendor guys. One I've known for a long time, one I don't know all that well. And our server like comes around and also we're staying like a really just like not a nice hotel, like probably like the worst hotel I've like ever stayed at for work and possibly like personally, even when I was young and poor. Like, it was not nice. And so our server's like, oh yeah, she's like there's two like big conferences going on. She's like, there's a menopause conference, and then I don't remember what the other one was. And I was like, oh, maybe I should go to the menopause conference instead of the one I'm going to. And so then I get into this like super like lengthy conversation about menopause with the two guys that I'm with, because they're about my age. And so, but I'm also thinking like these are like not conversations that like we would have been having, you know, like even probably 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And then like one of them is like, oh, he's like just like telling me symptoms about his wife. And I've had like two menopause specialists on the podcast. One was a doctor that's a menopause specialist, and one's like a woman who, the other one was more about like career in menopause. And she does some stuff to like get businesses, basically to like get businesses to market specifically for menopause. So like she'll talk about it being like menopause being like the big M as opposed to like the big V of vegan of, but basically like trying to get companies to like market very like openly that they're targeting like menopause or they have menopause like helping products. Anyway, so I was talking about this and I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I'll send you these links. And so like the next day I send him a link to the menopause specialist OBGYN that I had them podcast. Like she gave me a link to, there's like basically like a worldwide database of menopause specialists. And so I'm like, oh, I'll send you that. I'm like, your wife should like go find a menopause specialist. So I sent him that. And then I sent him like my podcast episodes. And then, which I just think like is funny, right? Because it's like me and two guys, and we're talking about menopause for probably like 20 minutes.
That is funny. That's
and then
hilarious.
like yesterday morning, I wake up and I'm like looking at my messages, and the other guy that I was with, he's like, "Hey, can you send me that information that you sent Mark?"
All these guys
I'm
that
like,
want to fix their wives.
Yes. But I'm like, how awesome is it to like be able to like have
That
those
is awesome.
conversations? So
That is
it kind of like it made me happy.
Yeah, I like it. I like that they were open to talk about it.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because like you say, 5
was,
years ago, even, I mean, people would go, what? No, ew,
Right.
taboo.
Yeah. And it affects like, it affects everybody because everybody, at
Yeah.
least like, if you're not experiencing it yourself, somebody in your life is your wife, your mom, your somebody. So
Right. Somebody's going through it.
like most likely, maybe not like everybody, but like most people have somebody that's it's affecting, and it needs to it needs to be talked about because it's very impactful.
It is.
Anyway, so that was like my little
That's
like
funny.
cool experience, and then also seeing your old company's headquarters, which I had no idea was there, and I went for like a little walk at lunchtime, and I'm like, wait, that sounds familiar. So, like, no, that can't be it. That's gonna be like it's gonna be like just another company with that name.
I know. I read your message first, and I thought, oh, it can't be. Where is she now? She's not in Bismarck. There's no way. And you told me where you were.
If she's in Bismarck, she's certainly not in Mandan.
Yeah, right. Across the river.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to their conference next week in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh, are you?
Yeah, next.
Well, at least it's not in Mandan at that hotel.
Yeah. Hopefully it's better than that.
There were several people who like walked into the hotel and walked out and went and stayed at other places.
Wow.
I will say at least I felt like my bed was clean. So that was good. I
That's
mean,
important.
but it was like, but also one of the guys at my conference, he's like, I sat on my bed and my butt hit the ground. Like he said, like his bed was broken.
No.
He's like, but I had two others in my room, so I just went to another
no. Wow.
Yeah, it was just
Ouch.
super not good. Anyway, all right. So, Manyphay.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good conversation, I thought.
She was lovely.
I really like her. She's one of my favorite people that I got to work with.
Yes. Energetic and smart. Very, very deep, thoughtful. All the questions she really did searching on what her answer was. I thought that was
she did
really cool.
And so resourceful and resilient and just a very her childhood and being a refugee, like I just I can't even imagine, right? It's not even something that's have any context for of how hard that must be.
Yeah, and I found it interesting how she kind of melded her experience, and especially her dad being a minister of some sort, and her wanting to help people, and just even her career path. And I think we're all in our career, a lot of us are in our careers to help people, and hers was really ingrained in her from a young age. Probably giving back for all the people that helped her, all her gratitude was really cool too.
Yeah, and she's such a kind person. Like I just absolutely
very kind.
I mean, I feel like I've been very fortunate to have such good people in my life, but she's probably one of my favorite people. And I've known her for maybe only like 5 years now,
Hmm.
but so newer
Yeah.
and by now getting to be very long life. But I
Yeah.
just really like all of the things about her. She's just amazing.
Yeah. Very cool.
So
Another thing that she had said, I loved how every career path, she just kept wanting to go back to the utility. She kept having that calling to go back into the utility space. And I found that was interesting. I never left the utility space. Had I left it, I probably would have wanted to go back. It's just an interesting business. And
it is.
I think especially the co-op space is like family because, the co-ops can share with one another. You don't have that in more competitive environments where you can go to another business and collaborate on how to get things done the best way and use all the resources that you have. I don't know if that's what drew her back.
Even outside the cooperative environment, because utilities have their territories, right? Like you're not competing for the same actual customers. There's generally not competition between utilities. And so like this conference that I was at, it's all about, like the utilities are very collaborative and generally like work together. Generally, it's not the case in all cases, but it's so different. Like when you go to the vendor side, because it is much more competitive. And so like when I went to the vendor side after I left my utility, it was people would like not talk to you, or like people that you'd been friends with, or you'd be at a booth like next to a competitor, even though when they were trying to sell you something the year before they were like your best friend, and then all of a sudden you're at a booth next to them and they don't want to talk to you. And it's the same way on the consultant side too. I mean, not yeah, it is. I mean, it's just it's there is more competition. And also it's not like 100% that way, like, I mean, a lot of like the people that I was talking, telling you about, like talking about menopause with those, they're vendors, but they're not, I don't compete with like manufacturers now. Right. So because I'm on the consulting side and they were on the manufacturing side.
Sure.
And it depends. And sometimes you're collaborating with other consultants because sometimes you might like subcontract to them and stuff. But yes, I love the collaborativeness of utilities. And I just think it's like really good people for the most part. I mean, it's not 100%. I have met some people who are less than nice, but for the most part, probably 95 to 98% of the people I have been absolutely great to work with.
Right.
So, yeah. So anyway, I'm super excited for our interview this afternoon. We won't talk about like who we're interviewing, but this is one I'm like really excited for. Like,
I'm excited too. We've been waiting for this one.
yeah. So
well, we wait for all of
fun.
them, but this one's it's just something
it's so
that I don't know anything about. It's very unique, and it's and so I have lots of questions. I think that's mainly why I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Just my curiosity is very piqued.
Yep, me too. So that'll be fun. And hopefully I'll make it back in time. If for some reason something goes awry and I'm still driving, I will let you know. I should hopefully be back.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to try to shoot down to my parents too. Of course I do all their Walmart ordering and grocery shopping, and I've got a few things to drop off. So I'm going to try to shoot down there quick and come back. But
yeah, they call us about the sandwich generate. Well, I guess you're done taking care of kids, your grandma now, but yeah, it's a lot. Like it is a lot. Growing up, you don't really think about taking care of like your parents and stuff. And also, I mean, I will say my mother-in-law, she doesn't like really need like a lot of taken care of. And it's also very hard for her to have someone taking care of her. Possibly also me being the one that's taking care of her.
Yeah. So. I think that's remarkable though, that she's still traveling and able to get around to like New York. I mean, that can't be easy walking around New York. And is that where you said you're going?
Yeah.
She's going?
She's going with my daughters.
That's remarkable. I know my mom used to be really a go-getter, but she had open heart surgery about 4 years ago. She was 84. So she doesn't move as fast as she used to. So I can't picture her at 88 being able to walk around like that. And I wish she could, because I'd love to do things with her now.
Yeah. I mean, they'll see how it goes. Maybe they'll have to take some taxis. And they probably won't walk around like they walk around, or that I walk around with them. I'm sure it'll probably be like a little bit slower. Maybe they'll do like less subway, because I mean, getting up and down the stairs to a subway is hard. And so I'm not really sure what those plans are with them. I'm not involved in this. I wasn't invited, which is also great, because I want them to have that time with their grandma. You know?
That's all. Yeah, that is really cool. Not many people get the opportunity to do that, so that's really cool.
Yeah, they're pretty excited about it. So
good.
Yeah, anyway. I will talk to you.
Drive safe.
Yep. Yeah. Thank you.
Drive safe. Talk to you then.
We'll talk soon. Bye.
Bye, Kathy.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Ordinarily Extraordinary Conversations with Women in STEM. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review the podcast. It really helps others find these stories. And if you know a friend or colleague who would also like it, we'd love for you to share it with them. And be sure to follow the podcast so you don't miss future episodes. If you'd like to ask a question or are looking for some advice, or to share your own story, you can email us or leave us a voicemail through our website at ordinarily-extraordinary.com. We may feature your question in a future episode. You can also find more about us on the website, or subscribe to my writing on Substack at kathykale.substack.com. And now enjoy Kay Paulus's music to take us out. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you next time. Mama said you're so lucky, the world's evolved so far. My path was laid out for me, but I longed for something more. What are you gonna be, they asked me, teacher, nurse, or secretary. But you, my child, can do anything. You can become extraordinary.